we have the
So good.
we have the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Our newly crowned champion Bryan Danielson facing off against Jack Perry. I thought the build to this was atrocious. We had Jack Perry, essentially Bryan Danielson going into the ring, issuing an open challenge, and Jack Perry having a video primed and ready to display on the Titantron. And then next thing you know, he's attacking Danielson from behind. Look, I understand the argument. Oh, well, Perry was probably expecting Danielson to go out there and say something, so he knew he was going to win and challenge him eventually anyway. Da da da. No, no, no. To me, it was too cute. It was too matter of fact. It was too, oh, this happened. This. You didn't even need, you could have done one or the other. You could have had Brian talking, had Perry attack him from behind, issue the challenge that way, or you could have had the video play, whatever happened, and have the Young Bucks attack Brian from behind, whatever. So to me, it was just very cheap, too cutesy, to me, and I
Not
don't,
very demure.
yeah,
Too cutesy.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
demure.
yeah. I'm never gonna
Sorry.
say it. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. The and it's
Sorry.
no, the ending for or what happened after the match for this and what happened in the other match that wasn't officially sanctioned, um, just really overshadowed everything for me. Overshadowed the entire match for Perry and Brian. And again, it wasn't even like a match of the year candidate or anything like that. I think it was a good match though. I think Brian got a good match out of Jack Perry. It's probably one of Jack Perry's better matches or best matches that he's had. And I mean, it's against Brian, so how can you, it's to be expected. But I will give Perry credit, like he held his own. I It was what you would expect. But he wasn't in the position where he should have been challenging for the title to begin with. Just character wise, progression wise, there are just so many reasons why he should not have been in that situation. Um, um, but it's so funny. I think you have a new
Yeah,
friend
hey,
and new
I love it.
subscriber, new follower, all that good
Please
stuff.
enter the lab. Rewind 89. When you log out of this, go to
There,
enter the lab every Monday
hmm
night. We'll
every
record.
Monday
Sorry.
night. You'll
Had a
have
plug. Had a plug.
your appointment viewing.
Yeah, love it. Go
um
ahead.
yeah, so after the match, and I had what I thought was going to be my one of my main talking points out of this was my frustration with Christian Cage coming out and the whole presentation of him challenging for the match or for the title. They're literally stealing the Money in the Bank concept from WWE, which whatever, like everyone
Is it called
borrows from everyone
anything, by the way?
nowadays.
Is it
With
called
them,
anything?
it's they called it, what was it was the casino, was it, I forget what the match was itself, but it's just like a
That
contract. It's
match is
just a
a
contract.
casino. Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay,
think that
cool.
was
I
the
just want
casino,
to know.
or it was the, yeah. I'd have to look it up, but yeah. So
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Christian walks out. So after the match, obviously Brian retains. Brian retains. Um, then all of a sudden you have Luchasaurus come out, which I was like, okay, this is interesting. I thought it was just gonna be setting up whatever, right? But then we get Christian Cage coming out with the, I guess it was like a, what was it, like a folder or something that he had, with
Yeah,
the
it was like
contract
a
there.
contract.
Yeah,
Contract with
yeah,
the
just
folder.
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes his way, him with the patriarchy halfway down the ramp, and then we have John Moxley appear. And at first I was like, Moxley was standing there, I was like, okay, this new version of Moxley's dope. Like he could be like a mercenary type thing, like just randomly popping out of nowhere, you don't expect it, but just like a defender type shit. Especially with what he's been doing with Shafir. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, all right, this is interesting. And then we see Pac come out, and then Wheeler Yuta, your favorite. So I'm like, all right, this is interesting. We'll see to save the day. Just we'll see what they end up doing here. And I was like, okay. And we just had them win the trios titles, so it's starting to make sense.
Oh, is
Then,
it?
then we get to the ring, and then they're all celebrating. Like, oh, okay,
Here we
okay,
go.
all right. And then they're wearing the white t-shirts too. And I was like,
Yeah, that's
that's
a little
very,
weird.
yeah. So whatever. Then bro, the whole catastrophe starts happening.
Now this
And
is when you're gonna express your dislike and not okay. I feel
I,
it.
I fucking hated it. I liked the turn. The turn made sense. It made sense, but it didn't make sense. It made sense for this new angle that in this new character and this new route that they want to go with Mox. this isn't your company anymore, whatever he's doing with Marina Shafir, like, okay, like you're turning. And he already showed he didn't come out there to celebrate with Brian when he became the champion. He didn't interact with Brian at all. He didn't show any type of, oh, I'm happy for you, bro, type thing. So it's like, okay, like, where have you been? Even when he came back, he mentioned no mention of Brian at all, of the championship win, nothing. So it's like, that makes sense to me. And we'll get a reasoning for exactly why. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, whatever. Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. And then I don't even so
Yeah,
audio,
get to where you're going to, because
I almost like I almost don't even know how I want to start. So just kind of backtracking. Claudio raises his hands with Brian. They celebrate all of a sudden, and then nails Brian with the uppercut. Brian's on the ground looking like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, what's going on type thing. Then all of a sudden, John Moxley, he has a plastic bag, puts it around Danielson's head, and no one can get in. For how long was it? No one can get in to help Brian. He is literally laying right beside the ropes in the ring. He's being suffocated, and that's what we're led to believe.
the crowd was chanting, "This is murder. This is murder."
Wheeler Yuta is crying his eyes out in the other turnbuckle because for whatever reason, even though
who was holding him back in that one? Was
Claudio.
holding him back?
Okay. I think it was Claudio. Yeah.
Who just had?
Oh no, it was Pac. It was Pac.
Okay. But also Claudio, who just had a tag team championship match with his partner.
Yeah, and they're also the trios tag champions.
Sorry.
They're also the trios champions.
Oh,
if I'm not
are
mistaken.
they? Yeah. Are they?
Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta. Yeah.
I didn't know
confident. That. Pretty confident.
Wow.
So that just happened at All In, I believe.
This is insane.
Suffocating
when you're
him,
speaking,
dude. Suffocating him.
Ashley, this all sounds nuts.
I'm telling you, dude. I was listening to the recap I was listening to. When they were speaking this out loud, and they were comparing what happened. And even if we want to backtrack, which I'll kind of backtrack and put it all together, when you speak out loud the absurdity that we have seen on AEW television from Wednesday, and then what happened last night, what the fuck am I watching? Like, what am I watching? And I will preface this by saying, I am not a cupcake. I am not one of these sheltered people. Okay, I am not this hardcore person.
This is why I like this about you. I could say see you and you don't get offended.
No, so I am not gonna act like I'm this hard individual first. Okay, I'm not a killer. I'm not nothing like that. You know, but
you are. Not, you can be.
I can be. Don't push me. But I watch twisted shit. I'm all about like the true crime stuff. I watch shit that I probably shouldn't watch. I'm that person. If they say don't watch this clip because someone is getting their head shot off, I will watch the clip.
I'm clicking it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that person. So I'm probably a little fucked up in the head. Okay, so put this out there to say what I watched did not offend me. I am not over here being highly offended on my high horse. And oh my God, what did my eyes just see? It's nothing like that. It's the fucking absurdity of watching a wrestler put another wrestler, his head in a plastic bag for the interpretation that he is suffocating him.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't even matter why, but we don't even know why. They were just best friends for years, and we don't even know why, but that's not even the point. Because again, I've seen people do more for less in the real world. So it doesn't even truly matter. But again, there's just that other aspect of it. You mean to tell me no commentator, no cameraman, no one for Tony Khan, no one from the back? You just went on this tirade of how much you love Bryan Danielson and how thankful you are that he is in your company and how he just had the best night of his life and his daughter just had the best night of her life. Him winning the title 2 weeks ago. And you're fucking trying to kill him in the corner of the ring.
You don't put a bag over somebody's face without trying to kill them.
Without the intention of suffocating him and making him pass out. And then you follow that up with your the best medical team in wrestling, per your commentators, coming out here and applying an oxygen mask to him. And mind you, we don't know the extent of him being suffocated. And when you literally break it down, so when you suffocate someone and they pass out, You don't know how much airflow they've lost to the brain. You don't know what long-term effects they've
They're
had.
basically
So you,
dead.
so
You
you
can
would
only go so
ideally,
many
you
minutes
don't
and
want to
seconds
move them
without
so much.
airflow to your brain.
Thank you. You don't want to move them so much. They carry this motherfucker out like he just like shit his pants or something, and they don't want him to like walk, and they don't want him to do anything. Like, get the fuck out of here. You can't even put him on a stretcher. You mean to tell me that you've put people on stretchers when they've hurt their legs, when they've done all this other shit, and you carry this man out and he was just, quote, suffocated?
Ashley, this
Okay.
is where the best
This is
wrestle.
where the best wrestle. Okay, and that's another thing, because Brian fucking Danielson is one of the best wrestlers of all time.
All
Okay,
time.
he does not need to be subjected to this. Whether this was his idea, whether he was like, I don't know about this, but okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You
I
can't
do
go.
lose respect for him because he had to agree
He
with
had
it.
to be you.
That is sad if
If
he
he
agreed
didn't
to
want to be
that.
involved with this, you can't make me believe if he didn't want anything to do with this, he was forced into this. If this isn't, I don't want to take the loss, I don't want to take the 3 count here. This isn't a
Oh,
no, and I'm gonna go out there and enforce your shoulders to the 3 count. No, this is a man's head being put in a plastic bag. If he did not want that to happen, that's not happening.
he would not
It's not
agree with it.
happening. And if
Yes.
that's happening, that's a whole another set of legal issues for Brian, right? So
Yeah.
obviously that's not happening. So the absurdity of it all, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't
The fact
I don't know who thought this was a good idea. And again, I've been to a GCW show in the past. I have
with
watched
all
some
that.
brutal shit. I've watched
Yeah.
shit that makes no sense, hitting people with light bulbs and putting people through doors and shit like that. People doing swantons off of buildings onto a pickup truck bed for no reason, just because.
But
And to me, that's not.
this is a major, like one of the best of all time, like you said. He wouldn't have done it unless he agreed to it. And the
Mhm.
fact that he agreed to it, I'm not saying I lose respect for him, but I am saying I do, because it's
I
like,
question his judgment. I question a
yeah,
lot. I
somebody said,
question a lot.
just think about it. Backstage, they go, hey, the ending of the match, we want BBC to come out and turn on you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a bag over your head, suffocate you, almost to like losing your life. We're going to act as if it's that serious. Are you cool with that? Okay, cool. What?
Yeah. No.
What?
No. And,
What?
and I don't know. There's so many aspects of it, and the fact that Brian was literally just put on this pedestal 2 weeks ago. His family was there. Like, it was just this kumbaya. And then the fact that now we're literally almost killing him. I don't, and I guess it doesn't even truly matter who it was, who is administering the bag to who. The absurdity of it, I hated it. I hated it.
Who did do the bag on it? Was it Moxley?
It was Moxley to Danielson. Yeah.
And even with that, it's funny because just to backtrack a little bit with Moxley. So all of a sudden last week on Dynamite, or 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, he goes, this isn't your company anymore. Doesn't come out with the BBC, comes out by himself. And then later on is with what's her name?
Marina
Marissa
Shafir.
Okay, so now you're like, what the fuck? And then the next week he does it again. BBC's not involved in this angle. It's like, that's what I said before. It was like, there's no consistency with this group since day one. They're a group when they want to become a group or want to help out each other, but it really isn't a thing. And then now you mean to tell me that this guy is suffocating in a bag, and then Claudio uppercuts, and now you're making Wheeler? Where do you go from there? Now Wheeler is by himself, which I just said early on, he's a wet napkin. So like, he's by himself now. No, Ashley, like, think about this. You have Claudio with the bad guys now, which is cool. If you're not a good promo, you have to be a bad guy. You have to be a heel. That's just how it is. The less talking you do and the more physical you do, the better. Now you have Wheeler. Where does Wheeler go from here? He's not gonna. What's he gonna be by himself? Is he gonna team up with the conglomerate? He's gonna be in the conglomerate now. Watch. I guarantee you, next week he's in the conglomerate. It's like, how does this make sense? Nothing about that. I don't mind Moxley going on his own, but just to do it the way they did it, it's like, make it make sense. Make it.
Yeah. And I think the one thing when I was thinking back on it and I watched it back and kind of
good
putting
point.
it,
Sorry. They're a part of the trios. How is that going to happen?
but that's what I was saying earlier. They're the trios champions. Pac, Claudio,
How does
and
that
Yuta.
make sense?
That's what I was
How does
saying.
that make sense?
Maybe that's a
This
way
is
that
offensive.
maybe what Fearfully Confident is saying, that maybe this is a way that can be like, you know what, screw the titles, like we don't care about them, you know, like we're relinquishing them. But I'm afraid that may start a tournament. But that's what I was saying earlier, which makes no sense
Make it
even
make
more as to
sense.
why Claudio and Yuta are challenging for the tag team titles. So then essentially, if they would have won, they would have been the tag team champions and the trios tag champs.
This is mind blowing. Hearing you break down what you just said, you sound like a crazy person.
I know.
You
And
sound
just
like
wait till
you
what I
sound
say
crazy.
later on when I explain everything that's happened on TV. You would think I'm making this shit up, or it's like a.
No, you
I don't
sound
even know.
crazy.
Yeah.
You're delusional.
Appreciate you,
Whatever you're
Joseph.
breaking down, it's just nuts. I forgot. Thank you for bringing up that point, Fearful Confident, where it's like they're the trios titles. They're 2 of 3. And what do you do with that? Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
And
Move on
again,
to the next one.
yeah, but I will say though that the one thing that everyone seems to have in common with Moxley so far, besides them turning on Danielson, and maybe they turned on Danielson because they truly are going to view him as the face of AEW. And again, I'm not advocating for this or even saying that it's going to happen, but wild theory. However many months ago it was now, 2 months ago, we saw the picture with Tony Khan and Shane McMahon. About a month ago, or not, what was it? No, not a month ago. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we saw Moxley come on and say,
yeah, it was about a month ago.
This isn't your company anymore, to Tony Schiavone, to Tony Khan through Tony Schiavone. The wrestlers that are involved are Moxley.
But why rush through it? Why not make it make sense, though? Why not?
Maybe they're getting to it. I'm trying to, like, devil's advocate. Maybe they're getting to it.
No, you're doing great. You're
maybe
trying
have a
to
John
make
Moxley,
sense of chaos.
Former Cesaro.
You're an enabler. You're being an enabler.
I am.
Yeah, as long as you know it.
I do. So you have your John Moxley, your Cesaro, your Pac, all former WWE, Marina Shafir, all former WWE. So that's 4 right there. 4. Obviously, Bryan Danielson was one of them, but that's the guy that they're chopping off at the head. And then you bring in Shane. It's not your company anymore. Maybe they are going to want to do an AEW takeover type thing. Maybe that's why they ended up. Maybe they wanted to do that with the EVP thing, attacking Tony Khan. Then maybe they were like, "Hey, let's actually not do this because we can do this bigger and better." A few months down the road, maybe that's going to lead to the World's End pay-per-view. I'm just
all right. No, you have to do it in New York, where Shane, Connecticut, where they're from. Like, you have to do it in New York Grand Slam.
Oh, Fearful Confident just said the same thing too. Look at it.
Yeah, there you go. You have to do the Shane angle. But what I'm saying is, if you're doing that angle, there's so many better ways to do it other than chaos. And then you go,
hey, attempted murder.
Shane's here. Yeah, attempted murder. And then go, Grand Slam, Shane's here. Oh, it all makes sense. It's all perfect. It's like, no, make it make sense the entire time. Like, don't, and I get what they're doing. They're leaving us puzzled, confused, and that's a part of wrestling too. And I like that. But you're leaving us, even after Shane shows up, if he does, even if, because that's still a question, we're so confused. Like, why did you, Shane, if you're going to do that angle, Shane should have showed up yesterday.
And
it would have made a lot more sense.
If you think about it, Bryan Danielson would be one of the ones who would hate Vince the most. If it was like a situation where, like, they were trying to take back control of the WWE, or not the WWE, the wrestling universe. Like if that's the mindset that they would be going in, like with the NWO takeover, NWO wanted to take over WCW so they can have the show and make wrestling what they thought it should be. If that's going to be the mindset of Shane coming in, because when you think about it, when Shane was on, one of the last things we saw Shane actively doing on TV was that Raw Underground, that fight feel, that UFC-ish
That was
type
quickly
thing.
done. Yeah.
Right. But Shane is that guy, and Shane wanted to buy UFC back in the day. I'm pretty sure it was. I think I remember reading something about that before UFC was what it was, and it was even a thing. He wanted to buy that, and he wanted Vince to buy it, and Vince was like, they didn't think it was going to be a good business decision. But I just have a funny feeling, man. A lot of people were like shitting on it from the jump, like Shane would never work for Tony Khan. Why not? Why not? Like what?
He's always been the redheaded stepchild
Yeah,
in
Shane was the
the
first one to leave,
business.
do his own thing. He went to China and had his own and created his own companies and made his own business dealings. Like Shane is
Yeah.
fine. Obviously, he's made millions from WWE, let alone.
I've actually invested in Robinhood, company wise, stock wise, with a company that he has stake in, that's made me some money. So he's a good business person and bias with me, but like,
Mhm.
why do this angle so erratically? Why do the angle so, all of a sudden you have Moxley, all of a sudden you have BBC, now you have, it just seems so wild and not uniform, where it's like, I'm telling you, next pay-per-view has to have Shane McMahon come out to make sense of it all. You don't
And
go up,
I think we
you
will.
don't go up to Dynamite and say, this isn't your company anymore. Okay? Make sense of it. And then you have a backstage angle 2 weeks in a row. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah, and I I think I think eventually I think eventually we'll find out. It could be
Yeah.
as early as Grand Slam. I mean, Grand Slam is in New York. What better fuck you to WWE than having Shane McMahon debut or make an appearance at Grand Slam in their backyard in New York?
That would make sense. It
The
would,
crowd isn't going to be big enough though, so perception wise, I
but
don't know
if
if you
it's,
want to do that.
but if it's in New York, it makes sense to the New York connection, the Connecticut connection. Like I said, the payoff of the New York crowd will make sense, but it still doesn't make sense as a actual
Angle in an actual story.
angle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just confusing. We're confused. Being confused is good. It's okay. But like, when you're completely like, why is John Moxley doing this? Why is the BBC doing that? It's like, yeah, even if he shows up in New York and goes, hey, this is my company now, I bought half of it or whatever, we're still kind of confused, because it's like, all right, what did the last 3 weeks have to do with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
again, it nothing justifies or explains or, in my opinion, even makes okay putting a man's head in a plastic bag in the wrestling world and trying to make me believe that whatever payoff that Danielson can do in return to Moxley will justify that. And whatever Moxley has against Danielson for whatever reason justifies that. It just, it's a terrible visual. It's not one that they even want to put on their social media. They even went on Twitter and said that due to the graphic nature of it, they wouldn't be reposting it because the AEW doesn't condone such things. Oh, that's funny. We'll just wait about 20-30 minutes and so let's see what else you do or not condone. You know what I mean? And I think just too, and maybe this is me being an old person now, but it's just not a good visual, man. Like you don't want the idea of putting someone's head in a plastic bag and someone being okay with it and it not being a big deal, that going out there. I don't know, man. Just the world is so fucked up nowadays. We don't need anyone else adding more fuel to the fire. So it's just like,
agreed.
bro, like just stop. And in my opinion, it got even worse in the
Well, main
unsanctioned
event.
match.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Lead
So
up. Go ahead.
with that one, again, this is another match that doesn't even
Actually,
matter.
I'm proud of you. You're being a lot more constrained to what I thought you would be. So,
And that's why I'm glad maybe I waited till tonight to do it, because if it was last night, I think I
yeah,
would have just like yelled and just been
yeah,
more, you know.
yeah.
Because I'm trying to see where they're gonna go with it. Because I do like we said, like I'm trying. I'm still very thankful for AEW. AEW needs to exist for the wrestling world. I want them to thrive, but it pisses me off when they do dumb shit like this, and when they pretty much disparage wrestling and put and make it look like a joke. And that's essentially what, in my opinion, they did. And I think that's why it pissed me off so much, between the absurdity of putting someone's head in a bag and then shoving a needle in someone's mouth. I just think
Well,
is the most absurd thing. I think it's a slap in the face of my intelligence. You really expect
go
me to
to the
sit
next
here?
one.
You really expect me to sit here and believe that this is really happening? And obviously it's happening, right? Because I'm watching it happen. Um, and yes, there's things that you can gimmick in wrestling. I'm not completely dumb and naive to that. Yes, I'm sure, and I know that they gimmicked that chair, the ending of the match. But kind of starting off, just a few things. The just what I thought was kind of laughable. The fear of an Excalibur saying that they were gonna get their heads decapitated if the cage lowered on them. That was funny. No, that was just a little bit extra. Um, I liked the little touch of, not little, but the touch of Swerve stapling the pictures to Hangman of his family members. I liked that. I liked that brutality. That made sense. And the issue that I had going into this, backtracking to Wednesday, is the absurdity of burning a man's house down. So you even had commented on it when I reposted it on Twitter, and I even said in whatever show, whatever it was, they got me. They got me. With the feel good moment of it. I thought it was really nice what they did. I thought that it was cool having that 3 minute, I think it was like 3 minute 18 seconds or whatever, clip of Swerve really fulfilling a lifelong dream. And it's something that everyone can relate to. It's something that made sense. But the fact that it took a drastic turn, I will give them credit for it. I didn't really see it coming. Maybe I should have, especially watching wrestling as long as I have. It makes sense. And I should have expected something more drastic coming. The arson, though, and the fact that you expect me to believe that a house that was just purchased legally, we're to believe, on a street, on a city street that you have to pay taxes on, is just burnt down. I loved everything, and I even said I loved
Wrong house.
Hangman. Yeah, right. I loved everything Hangman did up to lighting the match. I loved him going through it, even pouring the gasoline. I love him walking through each room saying, "This is the dirty ass floor that your mother fed you on. Like, this is the room that your dad told you to pretty much shut the fuck up on because he's watching TV." Like, I loved the emotional aspect of it. I loved the torture of it. And maybe this is me being a sick individual, but I would have loved the torture more than the actual blow off of burning the house. I would have loved Hangman going through each room, pouring gasoline on everything, making a set of keys for himself, and going out there, having the gasoline tank, and sitting there and being like, I can have your world go up in flames right here, but now I know where you live. I'll see you Saturday type thing. Because now Swerve can't physically pick up the house and move it. Hangman knows where Swerve's family is going to be living because Swerve strictly said he wants his kids to live there. He wants his grandkids to grow up there. Now Hangman knows forever where Swerve's family is going to be. Hangman can torment Swerve for the rest of his life. But now you have to take it to that extreme for the pure shock value of it. And that's why it pisses me off even more. And it's an insult to my intelligence. Whatever people enjoyed it or not, that's fine. Everyone is open to their opinion and what they enjoy. The fact that you expect me to believe that Hangman burned this man's house down on a public street, and Tony Khan was fighting off keeping him out of jail. Fucking stupid. I'm not dumb. I'm not 10. Even when I was 10 watching Stone Cold drop Triple H in a car off of a forklift 75 feet in the air, I at first was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" I was like, "Oh, that can't happen." I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
We're all watching wrestling. We're adults, even if we're teenagers. We're watching it with a basic level of common sense. To go from arson, then to go to putting a man's head in a plastic bag, then to going to this type of match, which
We're the
honestly,
best wrestle.
right, building up
That's
to
I'm sorry, but that's what it is. They
that's
keep
what it
saying
is.
it.
It is.
They
It's
keep saying
that's
it.
their slogan. That's
We're the
their
best
adopted
wrestle.
slogan. The fact that even and honestly, dude, like I was saying, the brutality with the staples of the I love the stapling of the pictures to Hangman. That was sick, and I loved that. That's the torture part. But the fact that you get to the end, and I even like taking the grill out because that's another personal thing too of Swerve. That's obviously like you see Swerve, he always has his grill, right? That's a part of him. Take every little thing away from him that means something, but then you bring out a needle, you bring out a hypodermic needle and jab it in this man's mouth.
Weird. 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 You're
What?
already in a cage
The fuck are we
match.
doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then he's on his knees. And I don't know if that was if I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as it was numbing the projected pain that he was about to receive or it was about to knock him out. I don't know what I'm supposed to take from that. And that's part of the problem too, because what the fuck am I supposed to take from you putting a needle in someone's mouth in a wrestling match? That's what I'd love to know. Um and then you take a chair and the sound. I read some comments from people who were live and like there watching it live. They said the sound alone, because obviously with the cage, your
Yeah.
view is going to be obstructed when you're in the arena. They said the sound alone, they could hear it in the courier from the chair
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit if it's a fake chair, if it's obviously if it's a real chair, that's completely different. But I don't give a shit how much you say you gimmick this chair or whatever. You are still slamming a piece of whatever material so hard on a man's skull that it is making and it's ricocheting that type of noise. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for that. I don't care. I don't care what he was given prior. I don't care how much they fixed the chair. I don't like it. I get you needed to get to a certain point, but that's not it. Especially what we know nowadays. I the totality of arson,
Yeah.
attempted murder, and then whatever we want to call Hangman doing to Swerve. I just think it was absurd, and it really put a damper on the whole pay per view for me. It made me really sit there and say verbally, "What the fuck am I watching?" It made me want to turn it off. I didn't care about the
Yeah.
after show. I don't truly
Yeah.
care about how they follow up on Dynamite because to me, it's a
It's all
slap in the
shock
face.
value.
Yeah,
It's
and
all
and you're
shock
just
value.
throwing the
It's all
chip
to
to the
go
wall.
viral. And that's what I have the problem where it's like you want to promote where the best wrestle, and then you want to tell the wrestlers when they're in their promo to constantly talk about this is where the best wrestle, whether it's FTR, that's every other promo they do on Collision, which by the way, I don't watch Collision, so
No,
I
neither.
don't even see it outside of social media. And then you got Adam Copeland, who's what is he dealing with? He's dealing with an injury. Could he jump from the top of a cage to a table where he didn't even land properly? Like, part of it is his fault. He should have probably laid out on it. But you're
And he
asking a
made
full.
a last second like change of thought. Like he was like,
Yeah,
"Oh
he
shit,"
did.
type thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
And you're
human,
putting,
you know.
oh, completely. You're putting a wrestler, all-time legend, with the best wrestle, and you're asking one of your 40-year-olds, upper 50-year-olds, to jump off a cage onto a table to land a spot, and he breaks his leg. And one of the guys that you're paying a lot of money to, he's not going to be wrestling for months. We're the best wrestle. I'm going to keep saying it. We're the best wrestle. The same
Wrestle,
company, where the same
wrestle being the
company
key
says,
word, bro.
let's put people on fire. We're the best wrestle. Let's put people in situations where they're jumping off the top turnbuckle into a table. We're the best wrestle, where they're putting their lives in dangers. It's not what's the other company? GCW?
Yeah.
I get it. That's their gimmick. That's that ECW type mentality where it's like, all right, they're gonna go viral. You cannot promote your wrestling company. We're the best wrestle every week as a company. And the reason why you bring people to your company is, hey, if you want to wrestle, you want to be a professional wrestler, not an entertainer. Stop putting your professional wrestlers in a situation where they could get hurt. And I understand, just like sports and wrestling, there's going to be times where you twist an ankle, tear an MCL, break a leg. It's going to happen. They're all doing, not me. They're all doing things that are not normal. But to put your professional athletes constantly in a situation where they're jeopardizing their health is insane. And it's I hate that they constantly talk about being professional wrestlers where they're not doing their job by protecting the wrestlers. It's sad. It really is sad. It makes me upset. I've never been in that realm of being a professional wrestler. Only got into it recently. But to claim that you're a company that protects professional wrestlers, that you want to promote the fact that you're treating your wrestlers well and healthy and professionally, and then put them in situations where they completely are not protected and risking their health. It's wrong. It's bad.
It is. No, it is. And we have a question here. I think it's pretty interesting. We're kind of backtracking a little bit, but it still kind of plays into this as well, though. And we'll get to a couple more comments too. Yeah. But Joseph says, AEW has little to no booking and little to no storylines. Having said that, what do you think would be the best way of debuting Shane? What's the storyline? Just him showing up on Dynamite means nothing.
Can I take this?
Yeah, I was about to say you should
take
that first. Yeah.
So the moment they locked down the deal of Shane coming to AEW, automatically, if they want to do the Jon Moxley thing, automatically distance himself from the group itself, show after a week or two that he's distancing himself from the group, and then have him come out and promote it, and then say what he did, where it's not your company, I'm going another way, I'm going to be independent. That's cool. And then little by little, you build it up where on the pay-per-views, all in, all out. Now, all of a sudden, you have some build towards, oh, shit, Jon Moxley's linking up, I think, with Shane McMahon. All right, so there's some build. All of a sudden, if Jon Moxley comes out and it's like, this isn't your company anymore, links up with this random girl that he had no ties to previously. Also, he's in a group that he hasn't showed any ties to, and then turns on the main guy. It's like confusion. It's like, what's going really on within the actual group itself? I get what it is, where it's like, all right, we're going to have Jon Moxley turn on the company, but there's no buildup. He just comes out and does a promo.
To me, the main thing with that is why, because when Moxley left WWE, it was a big ordeal, right? WWE actually did like a whole tour. It was like the Shield, like the going away tour for the Shield. I was at one of the shows, and it was kind of a surreal thing to see. Like they announced it, like they even said his real name, like Jonathan Good or whatever, has they pretty much agreed to part ways, and he's not renewing his contract. We wish him the best. People almost thought it was like not real, because WWE never does anything like that and never actually lets someone leave on the right foot. So in hindsight, yes, the booking, and the storylines that they wanted Moxley to do with Vince in particular were shit, right? And a lot of it is just laughable, even looking back on it. The gas mask that he was involved in and things like that.
Oh, that was bad. That was
terrible.
Very bad.
Terrible.
They were trying to ruin him.
Sure, but it's like this is what
they even changed his intro music. Remember that?
Yeah. It was
that
what,
was
like
so bad.
Like 5 years ago now. Moxley has been AEW champion 2 times at least. He's lived his dream in New Japan. He's fought all the wrestlers he wanted to. Like, why is he so angry? Like, that would be my main disconnect with this. As much as I was trying to make sense and advocate for it earlier, I think if they are going to be bringing Shane in, it has to be kind of somehow related to this. If not, then they need to do something soon. And I think it just really depends on what role they're bringing Shane in as. If he's just a behind the scene guy, then we don't need to know anything. Like, you can obviously you're gonna want to promote that in a way, so you can literally just have him, like, you can have Tony Khan make a special announcement type thing, right? And then have Shane come out if you want that shock value of having a McMahon on AEW television. If that's the only, and if Shane has no interest in being an on-screen character or doing anything like that, that's the extent that I would do that. If he's just there solely to be a businessman behind the scenes, have him come out, maybe sign a big contract on there, have the shock value of Tony Khan with Shane McMahon on an AEW stage and an AEW arena type thing. Let that go out there to all the media outlets, do that thing. But if he's going to be brought in and an on-screen character, I'm still going to jokingly go back to he's got to have a match with Darby Allin. That's just got to be a thing. But I think seriously though, it almost has to be tied into this Jon Moxley thing. But again, I don't know why Moxley would be so pissed off, and that's my first question.
Yeah.
And my main tied together would how, if Shane's gonna be brought in, how do you have him tie into Moxley? You can obviously do the WWE invasion angle, which I think would be kind of cheap, but it could be interesting depending on
Very cheap.
how they do it. Because I was a fan, and I will be the only one out there. I was a fan of the invasion angle way back when. It definitely left a lot on the table, and they were limited because they didn't have certain stars. But I thought it was
Yeah.
fun.
That invasion angle could have been so great.
It could have
if
been so
they
much
had
better.
The superstars
So much
that
better.
They,
Yeah, but I think it's a little early. I kind of want to see, as much as I was saying, I'm not really intrigued. I would want more information before I really know how to predict Shane would be coming in, because it's just like, you don't want him to come in and just be a cookie cutter on screen authority figure. Like, that's boring. So if you're going to be bringing him in, you have to have him come in with an impact. And I think it's very interesting that they did that trademark for that shockwave, because it would be a shockwave through the system, you know. So I more and more signs are leaning to Shane showing up. But I think you need to flesh out with Moxley first.
How does it affect the EVP angle too? Think about
Well, that's
that.
what I was saying earlier. That's
so
why
now all of a sudden you have
I feel like
Tony
that's why they
Khan.
squashed that. I feel like that's why they squashed that. I feel like originally, kind of like hindsight is 2020 thing, maybe when they're originally going with, because if you think about it, this all started with the whole CM Punk footage and the All In footage and them airing that. They aired that, then Jack Perry came back because he's the scapegoat. Then he punched Tony Khan in the gut with the mic. Terrible sell job. And everything just went off from there. He joined the Elite, all this stuff. They went to the Blood and Guts match, which is fucking atrocious because there was no reasoning for the match, no stakes for AEW or either side. So that happened. And then it's just kind of been, and then Christopher Daniels was an on-air authority figure for the week or two that Tony Khan wasn't there. We randomly got Tony Khan dropping off Jack Perry with a flamethrower back. So in a way, they kind of tied that.
Do you hear what you're saying?
That.
It sounds so
It's
crazy.
It's like Borderlands type shit. So
oh my God.
I really think that somewhere along the line, they probably got word that it's a real strong possibility that Shane could actually be coming in. And what better way to send a shockwave than to have a McMahon jumping ship and coming through and taking over AEW. So I think that's probably why they did put that on the back end, essentially. And Mox went away for a bit. Mox came back. He's like, this isn't your company anymore. And I think it's going to build and build and build. And then the World's End pay-per-view, just name fitting is pretty much lining up there. It's the end of the year. I don't know. But I think looking, for Grand Slam is with New York, that would make more sense because World's End selfishly is in Orlando. So that'd be pretty cool.
Are you
but
are you going to that?
Yeah. It's like 20 minutes from here. So it would make sense with really ending the year with a bang and starting the new year off with a shockwave. I think it would be a nice little play and pun with all their new words there. But I think it would just really depend on what kind of deal you have with Shane. And I think some people are saying, oh, there's no chance in hell, pun intended there, that Shane would ever come in. And the moment we saw that picture, I was like, oh, he's going to be involved at some point.
Yeah.
At some point.
I agree. Isn't it crazy that AEW with Tony Khan does a lot of things that WCW did. So when you watch the failure of WCW and watch all the gimmicks they did that led to their demise, AEW is doing the same exact gimmicks, whether it's matches, whether it's promos, whether it's angles. It's sad to watch. It's like it's so predictable with Tony Khan where it's like, all right, put the angle where invasion angle. Cool.
And
We've
I
seen
think
that.
I still think it could be interesting though. I think it all depends on the layout, and what concerns
But
me is just the
they
judgment.
haven't done the layout. They haven't done it
But
in a
they
way
have
where
time though. They have time. I honestly don't think Shane would be making an appearance at Grand Slam. I think that's probably a little too soon.
you think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is 3-ish
So
weeks out from now.
So you want John Moxley for the next 2 months to go on continuously
We need something
leading
though.
us.
We need something. If we're gonna get a true substance and a true foundation for why Shane would be coming in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, then okay, cool. But I don't. This is a company that doesn't even build to their pay-per-views that they know are happening months out in advance. So why would I give them hope that they're gonna handle a major happening with care in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time? And this is a situation where they can't just bank off the fact of having a McMahon coming in and the publicity. They need to capitalize on it before it even happens. They need to. We know we're going to get hype when Shane comes in. We know that buzz is going to be going for at least the minimum the next week or two. So we need to capitalize on that and know what we're doing with Shane. Because if not, then why are you even bringing him in? Just besides the fact that you have a name and you're going to put him backstage. Then what else are you doing? So,
but also they're suffering viewership wise and watching on TV. So it's like, all right, it's the end of the year. Do they need to capitalize on having a big pay-per-view, which is the next pay-per-view, having somebody come in to boost up the numbers? So if I'm a WWE fan that only watches WWE, I all of a sudden hear on Wednesday, Dynamite, Shane McMahon's going to show up. I'm going to watch that. Ratings boost.
yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They have to do that. They would have to do that business-wise.
And also, what bigger fuck you to WWE making their debut on Netflix than to have Shane McMahon on the competition on a completely different channel and being, hey guys, you remember back in the day? Like, I now own, all that shit.
Point.
So,
Good point.
what bigger fuck
and
you
that
to
happens
them?
in January. That happens in January, right?
I don't know the official date for Netflix in January,
I
but
think it's like January, like 7. It's first Monday
week,
in
probably.
January. Yeah.
Yeah, because WWE is going to load it up with Cena, probably The Rock, and all that shit because they're going to be in the
That's
WrestleMania
3 months.
season.
That's what I'm saying. It's 3 months away. 3 months away from what you're saying. AEW
Look, man,
needs
I'm
to
not saying it
capitalize
makes sense,
now.
and I'm not saying it's going to be good or anything like that, but if I had to choose between them doing something in 3 weeks or something in 3 months, I would hope and choose the 3 months, because these people, I almost feel like when they have more time, it's almost a little bit better, because then it's almost like that kid that knows they have a book project that's due in 2 months and they wait to read the book until like a week prior, and they don't even end up reading the book because they're like, oh, I'll cram it in, and they get that, what was it called, the Spark Notes or whatever, they get that like that shorter
That's
version of
literally
it.
my entire life.
That's what, and it works. And look at you, you're thriving. What did you call you, Bear? You're thriving out there, Bear.
You
So you're doing
shout
great.
out Rewind 89.
Yeah, right. So you're doing great. So I view that as AEW. I view them as almost the company where, and I guess you're validating your point. I could see them doing it at Grand Slam, but again, I almost don't see them doing it because I don't see them wanting to do anything drastic with Brian. And I think they want Brian to be the champion for the duration of this year. And I think that also will lead you to World's End. Now, I know they have a pay-per-view prior. I think it's Wrestle Dream in Washington, I think. But I don't think that you necessarily need to have Brian like retire there. I think that's too obvious. Maybe they will and just go with
maybe they will.
Obvious nature of it. But
you're thinking too sensible of if it's in Washington, it's like either he's not gonna win the title because it's like, all right, what does that do? he'll be the main event. Yeah, losing the title at that point would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not in professional wrestling terms, but as how they run their company, it's like that's exactly what would happen. He'll lose that title. When is that? Is that this
World's End.
calendar year? No,
Yeah.
World's End in Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's actually Wrestle Dream. Wrestle Dream, I think is let me see.
I could definitely see him
October
losing
12th.
So 4 days after, the same week as Bad Blood. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Daniel Bryan is not going to hold that title for more than 3 or 4 months. He's held the title just to boost ratings,
boost ratings.
Yeah.
And well, so you have Grand Slam,
to give him the title too, because that's what he wanted.
I'm not even saying that was a bad move. Him getting the title to begin with, I don't know. I think that probably should have happened like a year ago. But I mean, Grand Slam is September 25th. So we're saying 3 weeks from now, you could possibly have Shane debut there, set all this into motion, all the fuckery that you're gonna do with Bryan between now and Wrestle Dream, which is less than a month at that point from then to Wrestle Dream. So I mean, because Wrestle Dream is October 12th, so it's less than a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna say on record, Shane McMahon comes back, Grand Slam, New York, creates a spark, and then that story continues into Daniel Bryan losing in Seattle. I think that's gonna happen. That's put it on the podcast. It's recorded. I think that's what's gonna happen. Is AEW is not going to be able to create this much buzz for too long. Shane McMahon comes back Grand Slam, and then the next pay-per-view is when Daniel Bryan loses.
This is for Rewind. Anytime, any place.
Sorry about that, guys. But that's my genuine opinion. I think the Shane McMahon angle, if it's a real angle, it's not going to last too long. It's not.
Well, and
they don't have it in them to make it longer.
That's my fear. That's my fear. I don't know. And I think that's why I was saying almost you need to give Moxley more time. But at the same token too, it's almost like
time for what? Time for
to explain why the fuck we're doing this though.
He's
not
explaining anything. He's not talking. His promo, even to begin it was like, it's not your company anymore.
Darby. He wants Darby. Darby and I think another point though too is Darby is facing Bryan Danielson. Bryan is facing Darby Allin at Grand Slam. Now Moxley suffocates Bryan. Why has he been wanting to talk to Darby this entire time? It's another thing too. So,
hey guys, I'm on record here. Now that I have a microphone, a lot of AEW's predominant athletes, Darby Allin, Daniel Garcia, who else? Jack Perry. They are the least, like I said, least intimidating humans of all time. If they walk into your house and threaten you, you're not going to fear them walking in your house. Meanwhile, the other company, WWE, CM Punk, we talked about this. CM Punk looks bigger, stronger, healthier. Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, even the people in the bloodline that there's every main event star in WWE looks, if they walk through into your household, immediately you fear them.
Mm-hmm.
If the EVPs and Jack Perry walk into your house, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah, like you're gonna exactly.
Can you make a phone call?
You're at least gonna be like, what? Hey, are you confused? You're not gonna be fearful of them, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like AEW is letting the wrong guys dictate this company. And that's bad.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, we joked earlier that we've gone 3 hours before, and we're approaching that time frame there. Sean says the main question is, will people even boo Mox? I think they will. Oh, well, against Brian, I think they will. And I mean, but that's the thing too. Like, people were already. I don't
They're
know
not
how.
even booing him. They're not saying anything.
And it
They're
was about to
quiet.
say they were chanting "This is murder." So they already. I don't know. It's just. It's one of those things where it's like, if in the kind of perception I got off of them chanting "This is murder" is them being like, "What the fuck? This is insane. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is murder. Like, this isn't even real in the wrestling world. Real, right? This is
Imagine you being in person and watching it, going, "Wait, what do I have to chant? I don't have a chant for this." It's like you're literally murdering somebody in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Keep the comments. Yeah, keep the comments at the end of the episode. Why not?
Yeah. And then Joseph also says, this is Moxley's statement. He says, quote, "It's going to take some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this, but we're going to get started now. This is not your company anymore." And I think that first sentence, "some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this," because it is gonna that first initial sight of seeing Shane come in is gonna be shocking.
Yeah.
I guess you could also take this in a different, more edgier route and have him in now seeing where Moxley is going physicality wise. I hope it's not him saying it's going to take some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this, but this is not your company anymore. Being like Tony Khan, like, this shit is everything's about to be like the unsanctioned type feel, and I will not be a fan of that at all if this goes a GCW route.
Did you know John Moxley took that quote from a movie?
Yeah, it was like some Nazi movie or some shit.
Yeah, it's from a movie. Yeah, so that quote, it's the original quote was whatever. It was "This is not your country anymore," is the quote, and he took it as "This is not your company anymore." So
yeah.
It's just like, listen, to end it, and I know we went long. I want AEW to do well. I'm rooting for it. They are not putting on women's wrestling, men's wrestling, promos, storylines that is capturing the audience that they already have us. We're going to watch it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to capture other people. They're not capturing that. And that's what's sad about the whole situation is they're not feeding the audience of what they want to bring in. That's why the numbers are going down. That's why All In's going down, Grand Slam's going down. You're seeing it every single week, every single month.
Yeah.
And the people in the comments are I mean, it's been a few, but everybody in the comments have been agreeing what we're saying. We're not being negative. We're not being over the top. Every single person, as we've shown in the comments, had been agreeing with us because we're not talking in a negative light. It's just we're seeing the product and it's not good.
Yeah. Someone had even mentioned earlier they appreciate that we weren't being negative just to be negative. So I appreciate that as well. But then Sean says he'll listen to the whole show tomorrow. He agrees with you. We all want them to succeed. Just tell better stories and no more chair shots to the head.
I'm a star right now. I appreciate everybody that commented. Thank you so much.
And Sean,
I'm having a great week. Thank you guys.
Yeah, Sean says Sean is a great guy. So he's like one of the top supporters, man. So great people.
Nice.
So
Sean.
yeah, man. Yeah, and he says maybe a triple threat sometime. So yeah, maybe when we actually have something planned, because like I said earlier, Sean, you probably didn't hear, but this was very last minute, very impromptu.
Yeah.
But yeah, and all the people in the chat, Joseph, Fearfully Confident, our good friend Rewind 89, or your friend, more so, Elvis, new friend, follower, all that good stuff.
The comments are coming and coming and coming. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys.
Yes, I'm just seeing anything else here. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, listen, if we got to go 3 hours, that's people are listening and watching. So all the people like Joseph, like Fearfully, and like Rewind, they've been locked in since hour
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah. So facts, and shout out to you guys again, because like I said, this was very last minute. So yeah, and Fearfully Confident says they did a wide shot before the chair, so you couldn't see how sanded down the chair was. Yeah, and that's fine, but I'm still not a fan of it. I'm not here for it. Got the sub because of you, Rewind. Oh gosh. But yeah, so thank you, Elvis, everyone in the chat. I so much appreciate you guys. I will be editing this down not probably. Definitely not tonight. Do it tomorrow after my real job. So sometime tomorrow evening I'll edit this down. It just make easier clips for people. But the full thing will definitely obviously be up there. You want to go back and
hey,
view and
send
Big Bear
send it to a
if he needs.
friend. Send it to a friend that will like wrestling and all of our opinions, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Like I always say, I love when people disagree with me because it makes me think, and it's just it's easy when people agree with you because it's just like, okay, that conversation's done. But if not, we can converse, and I'll think of shit that I didn't think of. I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a very good point. We'll just end it on a positive note before he made yeah. There you go. Maybe need to do a muscle tee next time.
Hey, Rewind 89. Enter the lab. We're gonna put a podcast out tomorrow night on Monday night. So tune in. I would love to have you interact with us.
Are you going live tomorrow, or is it when you guys? Okay.
Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow night, Monday night. Yeah, right. 7:30, 8 o'clock. Well, if you follow us, you'll get a notification.
Yeah, and then last one, Dingle. If and when Shane debuts in AEW, that needs to be the restart for Tony and AEW to get back on track and get off this dry loop period. And I think it will. I think it'll literally be a shock in their system, and I think it'll be the wake up that they need, for sure.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. I think
I'm skipping. I'm skipping past the
I got it.
The good things past me. You know what I mean? Anything that involves Elvis, I'm like trying to skip. But
no.
The Shane questions are like big, where it's like, hey, create a better story. Once you know that Shane's going to be involved with the company, create a better story. Create a better, intriguing situation where Moxley. It'd probably be better if this Shane story started now, where Moxley turned on Danielson, Bryant, whatever his name is, fucking, and then it continues on where it's like kind of confusing for the last couple weeks. Keep that interested in a pay-per-view. So I think they missed an opportunity to take advantage on the pay-per-view now and then have a story to tell in New York with Grand Slam. I think they missed out on the opportunity. I think they jumped the gun.
Yeah. We'll see, man. We will see. But we will wrap up there. Thank you so much for your time, Elvis. Any final plugs before we log off here?
Nope. Enter the lab. We'll be live tomorrow on YouTube. So subscribe to us. Appreciate you guys. This great episode. Appreciate everybody for interacting. It's been great. I've had a great time.
And Rewind, never too thirsty. Never too thirsty. But no, thank you guys. Love you, Bree. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Ray or Elvis. I'm sorry. Thank you, Elvis. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Bree, for allowing him. And yeah, man, I can't wait to be back on. I can't wait to see how this crazy shit unfolds. There you go. There's the hip swivel. Yeah, there you go. Just for Big Bear.
Rick Rude.
And Big Bear. Yeah, look at you, Big Bear. But yes. Thank you as always. And I think it's a good place to end it here before you possibly end up divorced or may not wake up tomorrow.
What's happening?
But yes, thank you guys so much. And until next time, my friends, take care.